since this episode is dropping around September 11,
Oh,
I know. Yeah.
sad as hell. I don't want. Good man.
It's either this or abortion. No, but I feel like we should talk about this because it's 20 years.
It's 20 years. I mean, what is there to say? Like, I don't know what to say.
Well,
It's still an awkward conversation for me. I still vividly remember that day. Like,
it's been 20 years, and like I remember where I was. I feel like everybody
same.
remembers where they were, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It was such a like that was a huge event.
Yeah.
That was a huge event. So I stayed at home. I I said I was sick. I just wasn't into it. I don't think I was like trying to go to I wasn't trying to
You
go to
knew
school.
something was going down, bro? Like,
I don't know. Guys, don't look into that, all right, guys? I was not a part of this. But yeah, I was just home. What grade are we in that at that time? Fifth? Fifth or sixth?
just just starting fifth.
Okay. I was just home, having breakfast, watching Fresh Prince, and then my mom called me and then she's like, "Oh, go to NBC." I'm like, I mean,
Thanks, mom.
yeah, I know. Seriously, look, get a load of this trauma. Like, what the fuck? No, but she didn't know. She didn't know what was going on. No one did. So she's like, something is going on right now. I'm like enjoying whatever episode it was of Fresh Prince, but I switched to it. I didn't really register what was going on because I think that was the case for everyone. Like
Yeah.
it had just happened, and
Yeah,
it was
you're
just
like,
the first
mom.
one.
You're like, mom. Will's about to talk Carlton out of getting the gun. Like, what do you mean turn to NBC? Like, what do you? What do you
It was a good episode because I didn't turn to NBC right away. I didn't. So
oh, what a
um,
bad son.
so I flipped to it and yeah, and then I just remember like eventually it setting in because like then the reporters started to say okay, wow, this is serious, and like you could hear the tone in their voices like kind of change and
Yeah.
super low and
So,
like shit set
so I'm
in.
gonna be honest. When people said the World Trade Center, I had no fucking clue what they were talking about until they said the Twin Towers. I'm like, oh, because I didn't give a shit about World Trade. Like,
No,
I had no
not
idea
as
what that meant.
fifth graders didn't care about World Trade
Yeah.
Center.
Like, the Twin Towers is what I remember because I'm like, oh, I get it.
Mm.
Twin Towers, they look alike. Um, and then I was I was in school, and then all of a sudden, it was like a movie. Niggas start rolling in TVs,
Oh wow.
and they're like turning shit on, and they're showing replays now, dropping shit.
You seeing it? Yeah.
So yeah, then my aunt, like, all I hear over the PA system is like, anybody with the last name Riles, down to the main office. And then like my
Wow.
aunt's there, and she heard it up like all my cousins and I, and we all got to get the hell out of the school
Oh
because
wow.
no one knew like where the next attacks were coming from or whatever. And then I get home, and my mom, she's working downtown on Columbus Street in Jersey City, and my dad, he's like, "Yo, I'm going to get your mom," and I'm like, "You're not going by yourself." So he's like, "Nah, you get." I hopped in the car anyway.
Hmm.
So like we go and pick up my mom, and I remember like seeing people come the fuck up the steps with
Hmm.
ash on. Like it looked crazy. Like it was to a point where I had to like cover my eye. Like it looked nasty, and we were able to get back on the turnpike to come home before like shit got too crazy down there. But
Hmm.
I remember like I was super traumatized from that for years, probably. Yeah,
Bro,
yeah,
let's be real. Because I think the reason why I'm bringing it up is like 20 years later, the trauma that comes with that, seeing that at as kids, we'll never really be able to just put that into words. Like,
nah.
what it's like to have seen that as fifth graders.
And I was a kid with no connections in the towers. Like I knew no one directly in the towers. Well, my aunt worked, but she didn't go to work that day, thank God. But
Wow. Crazy.
I could imagine being this child and knowing my mom or dad worked in the like 198th floor or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe watching and seeing my dad wore denim and a button up to work, and someone with denim and button up like jumping out of the fucking building. Like in my head, I'm like, I can't imagine being that kid. That is like, is that who could that be?
Because that,
you know what I'm saying? Because no, like, and I think that was the scariest part about it. Like you see people jumping out of the building,
bro,
or falling out of the building. Like it is the craziest sight. I don't think I've seen. It's been a while since I've seen any photos or video of the towers getting hit. Because I purposely don't look at them, or I don't try to stare at them long enough, because it feels like the Candyman shit. Like I just don't. It makes me uneasy.
You're right.
And I think it's something that happened that day that forever changed me, that I can't. And it's odd enough that that shit scares me, but like in some weird way, I'm kind of desensitized to attacks. Because ever since that day, there's been so much like bombs here, bombs there, like explosions everywhere.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that and we've had this sort of conversation before where like all the things that we're exposed to, right? Cuz that happened pre-social media. That happened before social media. But like
oh my lord.
All the shit that we're seeing now, right? In the social media era, we're exposed to it and we're almost numb to it, and it's just so much, but we're not realizing the effect it really has on us. Like, but imagine if social media was around during
Could you imagine Bush having to get on Twitter and doing a press release?
No. I can't. I cannot.
Or could you imagine the fact that like information was out, and like WikiLeaks or some shit is like, the towers are gonna be attacked. Like, I think there would have been something along the lines of like, somebody's gonna leak information that the towers are getting attacked, and shit is gonna get real. So in some weird way, I think social media may have prevented it, or like scaled back the casualties.
Possibly. I mean, I just like I just
But
know
do
that.
we have?
Good.
No, I'm asking. Do we have social media without 9/11?
What do you mean?
Because if you think about it, the way the internet was viewed prior, it was just for companies and works, and it wasn't like, it wasn't a space for average Joes to communicate with other average Joes about like politics. It wasn't like a social hub. People still went outside, and there was no fear of like terror attacks, and there wasn't no, you can come to the airport a half hour before your flight and just run to the gate and get on. Like, all of a sudden there were these things, these guidelines, and these firewalls put into place where people felt more comfortable communicating behind the screen as opposed to in person.
Yeah, no, that's it's not even a crazy theory to put it that way. I mean, like, you have to think about like how travel was after that, right? How restricted travel was, and then we can get into like the xenophobia behind like that followed all of that shit, and how
which
unfortunate.
Is nasty, and it still exists today.
It still exists today. So
because they did a great job at making certain words the label for a certain
certain
description
group of people, right? Like that, like it's just straight up targeting. You know, it's just
Mm-hmm.
straight up targeting
Mm-hmm.
people, and the shit is fucking terrible.
And if you
So
condition, if all we got is the news and SpongeBob for 8 days because that's the loop of 9/11 and whatever, and you continuously beat that into our heads, the people who 20 years later we're now getting to the point where we decondition ourselves to think, oh, that person has nothing to do with that.
hmm yeah. So for me, like, yeah, the it didn't register as much that day, even though, like, yeah, it seemed like I saw like there was, you know, you just don't really grasp it. It's
Yeah.
not, it's hard to like kind of put into words really. But I will say there was what was it, 2009. I was a part of the memorial, right, where they do the like remembrance of the names. So they paired a nonprofit like volunteer with one of the family members or the relatives of someone who passed away.
Ooh.
Yeah. The setup was, you know, it's like we're paired up and then we each take turns saying a name, and then how it ends off is with the relative kind of says their dedication to the person that they lost. So we're up there, you know, I can even still tell you, like, I can tell you, like, some of the names. Like, I still, like, it's, like, ingrained in my head, bro. Yeah.
That gives me chills.
Yeah. So, and part of the reason why is because of what happened after. So, you know, we're up on stage, right? And then once we're done, we get off stage, and then the person who I was paired with, like, she just like holds me. She holds my like shoulders, and then she just like looks at me, and then she's like, you know, she's like in tears, and then she says, "Thank you," and then she like hugs me. She just like embraces me and we're just like embracing for like 15, 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's giving me goosebumps, bro.
Yeah.
That's
That
that's
was
that's yeah.
one of the most powerful moments that I've ever been a part of. Like, and you know, like that was when it like, if it's gonna hit you, you know, and at that point, I'm what I'm a freshman in college, so like, you know, things register more easily
Yeah, yeah.
at that point. And yeah, I mean, I like I really felt that, and you know, like I didn't even care that I missed like my first class or whatever. Like my teacher like she wanted to make a thing of it. I didn't even care. Like, bro, are you kidding me?
Got that
This was
degree
so
anyway, Bob.
yeah. This was so important, and like, you know, to be a part of that, like I'll always cherish that moment, you know, with that person, and just like being a part of that, like, you know, that's a historic event. And we talk about like all the things that have kind of influenced us, like, you know, our generation. These sorts of things come with it, right? Like these unfortunate events that happen, tragedies, and it's a mix. You got to take the good and the bad. So yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to all the families who lost a loved one, and just rest in peace. And you know, we celebrate all the fallen soldiers, and we appreciate all personnel, the fire, police,
For sure.
military that aided in rescuing people and cleaning up and just being at the ground zero for all those days. Like,
I think we collectively were all proud of that. Like to be able to say
Mhm.
like, oh wow, look at our country and look how we're all like standing together and just, you know, being about caring for each other. It
Unity,
was
yeah.
yeah, it was nice, you know. It was that's something that
At
definitely
least the
stuck with me.
optics were.
Yeah. No, that shit had me thinking like, you know, what's his name? What's his name? Giuliani?
Giuliani.
Yeah, I was like, this guy's great. I had no clue. I had no
I
clue.
mean, look, the pandemic made Cuomo great. So I mean, look what happens. You getting the all right. That's gonna shift. But shout out to like, it's been 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
We never forget. And we just, our heart goes out to all those who suffered loss.
Well said. Yeah.